Hey everyone, welcome back to American Explorer. In today's video, we're going to talk about American sitcoms. Sitcoms are everyone's favorite, and today we'll discuss some iconic American sitcoms and their interesting trivia. So, if you're a fan of sitcoms, don't miss this video. But first, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. 40. Few shows have been as influential in the history of sitcoms as The Honeymooners. The 1950s comedy was a truly groundbreaking approach to this type of story, and it is still being imitated all these years later. The series spun off from skits on The Jackie Gleason Show and focuses on a pair of blue-collar friends constantly looking for ways to get rich while their wives tirelessly put up with their shenanigans. From the domestic humor of married life to the relatable struggles of an unfulfilling job to the hilarity of the hijinks, it became a sitcoms. 39. Dairy Girls, 2018 to 2022. Though it ended following its third season, Dairy Girls managed to gain a lot of popularity in a short time. It also won several awards, including Best Scripted Comedy at the British Academy Television Awards for its final season. The 90s set series follows a group of female friends and their one overlooked male friend, living in a small Irish town and attending a Catholic school. Though the show deals with the tension in Ireland at the time as well as the hardships of these girls' lives, it is also hilarious with lovable characters, wild misadventures, and an undeniable charm. 38. The Bob Newhart Show, 1972 to 1978. Television comedies usually hit you over the head with a gag or shout their punchlines to the cheap seats in the back. The buttoned-up Newhart did neither of these things, which is why this whip-smart, but still silly, sitcom sometimes felt like it was being filmed on a completely different planet. As a dry, bemused Chicago shrink with a roster of oddball patients, Newhart seemed like an alien visitor in an insane world that he hadn't quite figured out yet. Outside of the office, there was wife Emily, Suzanne Plachette, who was as cool and composed as he was quietly neurotic. 37. The Golden Girls, 1985 to 1992. Here's a show that never should have worked. At least, according to the network ratings experts and demographic gurus of the 1980s. A comedy full of saucy double entendres served up by four older women living under the same pastel-hued roof in Miami. But with a Hall of Fame cast that included Bea Arthur, Betty White, Rue McClanahan, and Estelle Getty, these women not only proved that age was just a number, but also showed the experts that there was an underserved audience that was hungry for this kind of comedy. Actually, starving for it. Thank you for being a friend, gals. 36. Friends, 1994 to 2004. Yes, Friends was impossible to avoid in the 1990s, and it probably went on a season or two too long. But in the 17 years since it went off the air, the show has not only attracted new legions of fans who weren't even born during its first run, it somehow seems to have aged like a fine Bordeaux. Why? Well, there isn't a weak link in the show's cast. Courtney Cox, Matthew Perry, Jennifer Aniston, Matt LeBlanc, Lisa Kudrow, and David Schwimmer. And, more importantly, the actors spark off one another with the crack comic timing of, well, real-life friends. 35. The Office, 2005 to 2013. When the American version of Ricky Gervais' beloved 2001 to 2003 Britcom debuted back in 2005, it had massive shoes to fill. But rather than try to Xerox the UK version, Steve Carell and company turned the show's premise into something different and ultimately just as funny. The character types at Dunder Mifflin Paper Company are all familiar. The clueless boss, Carell, the will they or won't they office romantics, John Krasinski and Jenna Fisher, the resident cubicle wacko, Rainn Wilson. But with the cast's straight-faced spin, they yielded weekly magic. 34. Modern Family, 2009 to 2020. Although it has been gone only a year, it's hard not to miss Modern Family, one of the most precise and well-engineered joke delivery systems of the 2000s. Created by sitcom legends Stephen Levitan and Christopher Lloyd, this mosaic of three comically unique families who are connected by blood, even though some members would rather not be, featured a sprawling ensemble cast that was like a television murderer's row. Headed by Ed O'Neill as the cranky paterfamilias with a Latin bombshell trophy wife, Sofia Vergara, Modern Family was the rare sitcom that came out of the gate fully formed. Somehow it managed to only get sharper and sharper over time. 33. Sex and the City, 1998 to 2004. TV critics and pop culture pundits always point to The Sopranos as the show that turned HBO into an original programming powerhouse, but Carrie Bradshaw and company deserve just as much of the credit. As a serial dating Manhattan sex columnist, Sarah Jessica Parker turns the usual sitcom dating games into urban anthropology along with her three brunching besties, the prim Charlotte, Kristen Davis, the uptight Miranda, Cynthia Nixon, and the sex-hungry man-eater Samantha, Kim Cattrall. Sex and the City may come off as a tad dated in 2021, but at the turn of the millennium, every episode felt like a taboo shot of truth. 32. Veep, 2012 to 2019. If you're one of the stars of the best sitcom of the 90s, what can you possibly do for an encore? Well, if you were Julia Louis-Dreyfus, you followed up Seinfeld with this profane peek behind the curtain of American power. As the holder of the most thankless job in politics, Louis-Dreyfus plays VP Selina Meyer, a woman who masks her own sense of impotence with withering, elaborately inventive insults that she fires off at her staff and rivals like she's holding a howitzer. Created by Armando Iannucci, this DC comedy is the kind of satire that stings and leaves a welt. 31. 30 Rock, 2006 to 2013. Speaking of encores, former Saturday Night Live head writer Tina Fey spoofed late-night variety shows, the self-absorbed eccentrics who work on them, and the surreal idiocy of network politics in this rat-a-tat series that somehow packed in more gags between commercial breaks than most shows did in an entire season. As Liz Lemon, Fey beautifully mixed antisocial awkwardness with surreal slapstick. Orbiting around her deadpan wit were the note-perfect Tracy Morgan, Jane Krakowski, and Alec Baldwin, all of whom took the same merry prankster joy in biting the NBC hand that fed them. 30. Modern Family, 2009 to 2020. Although it has been gone only a year, it's hard not to miss Modern Family, one of the most precise and well-engineered joke delivery systems of the 2000s. Created by sitcom legends Stephen Levitan and Christopher Lloyd, this mosaic of three comically unique families who are connected by blood, even though some members would rather not be, featured a sprawling ensemble cast that was like a television murderer's row. Headed by Ed O'Neill as the cranky paterfamilias with a Latin bombshell trophy wife, Sofia Vergara, Modern Family was the rare sitcom that came out of the gate fully formed. Somehow it managed to only get sharper and sharper over time. 29. Scrubs, 2001 to 2010. While there are some viewers who feel Scrubs shares a lot with medical dramas like The Resident, it was also a very funny and quirky show. Taking place in Sacred Heart Hospital, the show follows the various staff members working there while narrated by intern JD, as he observes the strange and sometimes tragic world they worked in. The show has an imaginative spirit, always willing to be absurd and ridiculous. This mixed with the moments of sadness surprisingly well, making for perhaps the best ever sitcom with a medical setting. The show won a Peabody Award and remained popular until most of the cast left before the final 9th season. 28. Peep Show, 2003 to 2015. Peep Show is a British sitcom with a strong following. It centers around Mark and Jez, two roommates in their 20s with very different personalities who manage to incite mayhem through their attempts at living day-to-day life. The show has a unique style, often using point-of-view shots that help it stand out from the usual sitcom look and feel. There are many cringeworthy moments throughout Peep Show, and the show remains a cult classic despite receiving low viewing numbers during its initial run. 27. Police Squad, 1982. There are a number of great movies based on TV shows, and the comedy Naked Gun started out on the small screen. Like the movie, Police Squad stars Leslie Nielsen as hard-boiled detective Frank Drebin as he solves puzzling cases. Police Squad was similar to M Squad, which starred Lee Marvin in a crime drama series. However, it took the mysteries and replaced Marvin's detective with the hapless Frank Drebin. Police Squad only lasted for 6 episodes before it was canceled, but those episodes ended up strong enough to convince Paramount to bring it to the big screen, and the studio made 3 movies based on the show. 26 Mr. Bean, 1990 to 1995. Known for its universal physical comedy, Mr. Bean follows Rowan Atkinson's childlike title character as he causes all kinds of chaos and hilarious misunderstandings through simple, everyday situations, like a dentist appointment or even just dining out. 3 were only 15 episodes, but they ended up spread out over 5 years. The phenomenal success of the relatively short series led to Atkinson reprising the role for 2 movies after the series ended. The simply titled Bean in 1997 and Mr. Bean's Holiday 20 years later. 25. Arrested Development. Like Will and Grace, you'll want to skip the comeback seasons. The original run is where you should really begin and end. Here is side-splitting proof that, yes, the rich are different from you and me. In fact, they're so delightfully oblivious to anyone who isn't looking back from the mirror that their cluelessness is hilarious. For the newcomer, the surreal saga of the helpless Bluth family is a show that's so dense and layered and self-referential that you will want to watch it beginning with episode 1. And then you won't want to stop, thanks to a cast that knows that they're in a once-in-a-lifetime project and has a blast with it, especially Jessica Walter's spoiled matriarch, Lucille. 24. Frasier, 1993 to 2004. Arguably the best TV spin-off ever, this Swiss-precise spawn of Cheers follows snooty psychiatrist Frasier Crane, Kelsey Grammer, and the daily barrage of trials that come his way at work. He's a radio shrink and at home, where he swaps highbrows just with his equally effete brother Niles, David Hyde Pierce, and his blue-collar dad, John Mahoney. On paper, a show like Frasier could easily come across as condescending and insufferable, but when filtered through its terrific ensemble, it's pure snippy joy. 23. Curb Your Enthusiasm, 2000, present. Here is the greatest cringe comedy of, well, ever. Seinfeld co-creator Larry David moved in front of the camera for this HBO masterpiece to play an, only slightly, exaggerated version of himself interacting awkwardly with friends and total strangers who dare to make him observe the rules of civilized society. Niceties have no place in his universe. The character of George on Seinfeld was based on David, and Curb allows you to see that his obnoxiousness wasn't fiction. Oddly enough, David somehow pulls off the tricky balancing act of making you hate him and love him at the same time because he's true to himself. 22. MASH, 1972 to 1983. Adapted from Robert Altman's 1970 movie, which turned the Korean War into a stand-in for Vietnam and painted a pair of merry prankster army surgeons as the last sane men in a world gone mad. The small-screen MASH kept the same message for a different medium. Over time, the show evolved not just the revolving door cast, but also the tone, which became more heavy and dramatic. But the series never shied away from going for the funny bone and the heart, depending on what the occasion called for. Alan Alda led the cast through 11 seasons like a benevolent general, and the finale remains a television gold standard to this day. 21. Fleabag, 2016 to 2019. Fleabag is a show that is hard to classify one way or another. It is filled with drama, with real and raw subjects explored in powerful ways. But all of that is also balanced with a wonderful sense of humor. The show's creator, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, stars as the unnamed protagonist, also called Fleabag, who struggles through relationships, her family, and love. The humor in the show bounces between relatable situational comedy to very dark material quite effortlessly. Fleabag won the Golden Globes Award for Best Television Series, while Waller-Bridge won for Best Actress. 20. George Clooney. Recognized as one of the most famous actors in the world and a sophisticated leading man, George Clooney got his start in television before eventually moving on to high-octane film projects such as Batman and Robin or Ocean's 11. His tenure with television is mostly associated with his 5-season run on the beloved medical drama ER, but Clooney actually started to gain traction as a television actor in the family sitcom, Roseanne. He played Roseanne Barr, Boss Booker Brooks and Jackie's, Laurie Metcalf, love interest in the first season of the show in 1987. This led to other TV stints such as Bodies of Evidence and Sisters in addition to ER, before eventually making a career in film. 19. Ryan Reynolds. He's one of today's most bankable stars and best known for playing Marvel's Merc with a Mouth, but long before he starred in Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds was a television actor. His first few TV credits include the teen show 15 and the family adventure show The Odyssey, in between a few TV movies. He came to prominence for the sitcom Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place in the late 90s. The show centered around three 20-somethings who shared an apartment in Boston and hung out at the pizza place they worked at. It lasted for 4 seasons from 1998 to 2001, but is not generally considered a memorable 90s sitcom. While it's not his first TV credit, it is the show that gained the Canadian actor recognition in the States. 18. Christina Applegate. Christina Applegate has made her career in comedic roles over the last 30 or so years. She has starred alongside some of the best modern comedy legends, such as Will Ferrell in Anchorman and Kathryn Hahn in Bad Moms, among other comedy films that have allowed her to flex her comedic chops. Applegate's career was kick-started in the iconic sitcom Married, with Children as the teenage daughter of Ted Bundy, Ed O'Neill, and Peggy Bundy, Katie Siegel. The show ran from 1987 to 1997 and made her a household name as a child actor. She most recently got to explore the darker side of her comedic abilities in the Netflix dark comedy Dead to Me alongside co-star Linda Cardellini, where she plays a stressed-out widow who befriends a free spirit with a dark secret. 17. Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks' film career has spanned close to 4 decades and has included a plethora of memorable roles, from Big to Castaway and many in between. He is a 6-time Academy Award nominee and 2-time winner for Philadelphia and Forrest Gump. Hanks started his movie career in comedies such as Splash and The Burbs, but before that, he was on a sitcom called Bosom Buddies alongside the late Peter Scolari. The show ran from 1980 to 1982 and lasted for 2 seasons. It revolved around 2 single men who disguise themselves as women in order to live in the only apartment they can afford after their apartment building is demolished. It was canceled after 2 seasons due to poor ratings, but Hanks still looks back fondly at the show. 16. Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence, The Bill Engvall Show, TBS. Forever known for her portrayal of Katniss Everdeen in the film adaptation of the Hunger Games books, Jennifer Lawrence has become one of the most sought-after actresses of her generation. A 1-time Academy Award winner and 4-time nominee, Lawrence has also starred as Mystique in the X-Men movies among other roles in films such as American Hustle, Silver Linings Playbook, and Don't Look Up. She had a few appearances on TV shows before landing a lead role in comedian Bill Engvall's sitcom, The Bill Engvall Show, as his daughter. The show centered on the life of therapist Bill Pearson, Engvall, and his family. It ran for 3 seasons from 2007 to 2009, and Lawrence starred in the film Winter's Bone the year after the show ended, which she received her first Oscar nomination for. 15. Alison Brie. Community Sony Pictures Television. The 2000s were a great time for Alison Brie, as she had roles in numerous television shows, including the acclaimed drama Mad Men. While she starred as Trudy Campbell in the ad agency drama, she also starred in the hit sitcom Community alongside Joel McHale, Donald Glover, and Chevy Chase. Both shows earned her the recognition that helped her land other roles, but her time on Community showcased her comedic abilities. Since being on the sitcom, she has been in comedies such as How to Be Single, The Disaster Artist, and most recently the rom-com Somebody I Used to Know, which was directed by her husband, Dave Franco. She also went back to television in the Netflix comedy Glow from 2017 to 2019. 14. Topher Grace. Eric Foreman in that 70s show The Carsey Werner Distribution. Topher Grace actually recently reprised his iconic role as Eric Foreman in the spin-off show That 90s Show on Netflix last year. The spin-off is based on the beloved sitcom That 70s Show, in which Grace played Eric Foreman, a nerdy teenager from Wisconsin who would hang out in his parents' basement with his friends as they got stoned. The sitcom is still regarded highly today and remains a favorite among television fans. Starring as the lead in this ensemble, show allowed Grace to move on to movie roles in films such as Take Me Home Tonight, Black KKK, and most notably in Spider-Man 3 as Eddie Brock. He has been in a number of other movies and has rarely gone back to television. 13. Will Smith. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air NBC. Certainly one of the most talked about Hollywood actors today, Will Smith is now an Academy Award-winning actor with a vast filmography under his belt. From Men in Black to I Am Legend, from Bad Boys to Independence Day, Smith has been in many memorable movies. It's no secret that he got his start on the beloved sitcom The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where he played a street-smart teenager who relocates from Philadelphia to the ritzy Bel-Air to live with his aunt and uncle. Smith rose to fame thanks to this show, with some help from his music career as a rapper. Despite some controversy that he has been associated with his name over the last year or so, there's no denying that Smith became a Hollywood star thanks to his 6-year run on The Fresh Prince. 12. Bryan Cranston. Hal/Malcolm in the Middle 20th television. Most well known for his incredible performance as a chemistry teacher turned big-time drug dealer Walter White on Breaking Bad, Bryan Cranston made a name for himself on the small screen. His time as Heisenberg earned him 4 Emmy Awards for his work on the crime drama. Watching him on that show is surreal when you remember that 2 years prior, he was playing Frankie Muniz's goofy dad on the sitcom, Malcolm in the Middle. Before playing Hal Wilkerson on the sitcom, Cranston had many short-lived appearances in TV shows and TV movies that are mostly forgettable. Malcolm in the Middle gave him the big break he needed to prove to viewers that he was more than capable of keeping them entertained. Since being on the show, and in addition to Breaking Bad, he has been in numerous film roles, including Trumbo, which earned him an Oscar nomination. 11. Mila Kunis. Jackie Burkhart, The Carsey Werner Company. Mila Kunis has become a well-known figure in Hollywood by this point in her career, but most people still associate with her character Jackie Burkhart on That 70s Show. Most people have probably heard this story by now, but when she auditioned for the role, she stated that she would be 18 on her birthday but neglected to specify which birthday, and landed the role at just 14 years old. Since then, she has been in comedies such as Ted, Friends with Benefits, and Bad Moms, but has also branched out to other genres as well. She co-starred alongside Natalie Portman and Darren Aron of Sky's horror thriller Black Swan, and last year starred in the Netflix thriller Luckiest Girl Alive. 20 most romantic lines in sitcom history. 10. Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt as Andy Dwyer with Silvermouth NBC Universal Television Distribution. Before he was saving the galaxy or fending off genetically engineered dinosaurs, Chris Pratt was Andy Dwyer in the NBC sitcom Parks and Recreation. Before then, he was on a TV show called Everwood, but he didn't start to gain any real recognition until Parks and Rec put him on the map. The show has a dedicated fan base, so the exposure led to him becoming loved by viewers. The year before Parks and Rec ended, Pratt landed the role of Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy, which proved to be a huge success and has given us some of the most beloved characters in the entire MCU. Shortly after GODG, he took on the lead role in the new Jurassic World trilogy. Pratt has been acting consistently ever since and has even got back to television with the show The Terminal List, and it is largely due to his portrayal of the lovable Andy Dwyer. John Travolta. Welcome back, Cotter ABC. With a career that has spanned 50 years, it's almost odd to think that one of the most prominent Hollywood movie stars actually got his start on a network sitcom. Yet, that is exactly how John Travolta became the actor we know today. In 1975, he starred as a troublemaking high school student in the ABC sitcom Welcome Back, Kotter. The show centered around a compassionate teacher who goes back to his inner-city high school to teach a new generation of students. While on this show, Travolta landed roles in Carrie, Saturday Night Fever, and Grease, all of which helped him to become a big name in the film industry. He has starred in some of the biggest movies of the last few decades, including Pulp Fiction, and has been nominated for 2 Oscars. He even made his way back to TV briefly in 2010 in the anthology show, American Crime Story. John Krasinski. John Krasinski, NBC Universal Television Distribution. If you didn't know any better, you might find it hard to believe that the writer and director of one of the most intriguing horror films of the last 10 years actually started his acting career on an NBC sitcom. John Krasinski became known for portraying sardonic nice guys Jim Halpert on the ensemble mockumentary The Office with co-star Steve Carell. After a series of mostly nameless credits in shows and TV movies, he finally got his big break in 2005 when the US version of The Office premiered. Krasinski wasn't convinced the show would do well and thought he'd have to go back to waiting tables to make a living, but the show proved to be a huge success. Since then, he has gone on to write, direct, and star in the A Quiet Place films. He has also been in a number of rom-coms, the war film 13 Hours, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and will soon be in the 4th season of Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan. 7.
Jenna Ortega.
Jenna Ortega on Disney Channel. Jenna Ortega has become one of the most sought-after young actresses working right now. After wowing audiences with her performance as Wednesday Addams in the show Wednesday and having an incredible year in movies, the Scream Queen is going places. Similar to a lot of young actors, Ortega got her start in a Disney Channel sitcom called Stuck in the Middle after some minor appearances in other television shows. The show was on for 3 seasons from 2016 to 2018, and her career exploded after that. She was on the 2nd season of You starring opposite Penn Badgley, played young Jane on Jane the Virgin, is one of the new leading ladies of the Scream franchise, and starred in the A24 slasher hit X. Most recently, she has been cast as Lydia's daughter in the upcoming sequel to Beetlejuice. 6. Donald Glover. Donald Glover in Community NBC. Commonly known by his musician name Childish Gambino, Donald Glover is also a well-known actor. He started out on the show Community, much like Alison Brie, as Troy Barnes. The show is loved by its fans and is still a commonly referenced show. Glover's role in the sitcom jump-started the rest of his acting career and has even helped his music career. Since leaving the show, he has been in movies such as Magic Mike XXL, The Martian, Spider-Man, Homecoming, Men in Black, International, and The Live Act. Adaptation of The Lion King. He made his return to television in his acclaimed show Atlanta, which ended in 2022.
5. Aubrey Plaza.
Aubrey Plaza has proven that she is capable of more than just making us laugh while on screen, although she is excellent at it. After being in the 2nd season of the hit HBO show The White Lotus and leading the independent crime thriller Emily the Criminal, it's clear that she has range. Before any of that, she was April Ludgate on Parks and Recreation, alongside Chris Pratt, who happened to be her love interest on the show. While on Parks and Rec, she was in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and starred as the titular character in A24's horror comedy Life After Beth. Since the show ended, she has been in comedies such as Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates and Dirty Grandpa, and indie films such as Ingrid Goes West and Black Bear. In addition to The White Lotus, Plaza also starred in the sci-fi show Legion. 4. Michael Cera. Another Scott Pilgrim alum, Michael Cera also started out in a sitcom. He had some brief stints on TV shows and TV movies prior, but it was with Arrested Development that Cera started to receive some accolades for his work. The show was canceled in 2006 but revived in 2013, and in between seasons 3 and 4 of the show, Cera was in Juno, Superbad, This Is the End, and Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. His latest project was the Hulu show Life and Beth from 2022, in which he co-starred with Amy Schumer. 3. Zendaya. Two-time Emmy winner and five-time nominee Zendaya has made an incredible career for herself at just 26 years old. Also a Disney Channel veteran, Zendaya began her career on a Disney sitcom. Unlike other former Disney stars, Zendaya actually had two sitcoms. The first was Shake It Up, which ran from 2010 to 2013, and then she had her own show titled KC Undercover, which ran from 2015 to 2018. While on KC Undercover, she worked on her music career and was even in Taylor Swift's music video for Bad Blood and Bruno Mars' music video for Versace on the Floor, in addition to being in The Greatest Showman alongside Hugh Jackman and Zac Efron. It was also during this time that she joined the MCU as MJ in Spider-Man: Homecoming. Since she left Disney Channel, she was in the film Malcolm and Marie, the second and third Spider-Man movies, Denis Villeneuve's Dune, and the highly acclaimed HBO show Euphoria. 2. Jennifer Aniston. Friends created stars out of each of its main 6 cast members and had many celebrity cameos throughout its 10 seasons. Jennifer Aniston dabbled in television in the early 90s in shows such as The Edge and the Ferris Bueller TV series, but each project only lasted for a short while. It wasn't until she was cast as Rachel Green that Hollywood started to take notice of the actress. While on Friends, she also landed film roles in Office Space, Picture Perfect, Bruce Almighty, Rockstar, and more. After the beloved sitcom finally ended, Aniston continued to work steadily in movies such as The Breakup, Marley and Me, Horrible Bosses, We're the Millers, The Switch, and many more. She's also tried her hand in drama with The Film Cake, and recently got back into TV as the lead in the morning show alongside Reese Witherspoon and Steve Carell. 1. Michael J. Fox. Adored by both Hollywood and the public, Michael J. Fox is one of the most beloved actors to grace both the small and the big screens. He will forever be known as the iconic Marty McFly from the Back to the Future trilogy, but he has had an expansive career in film and television despite his rare diagnosis of early-onset Parkinson's disease when he was only 29 years old. From dramas such as Casualties of War to Bright Lights, Big City, and voiceover work in Homeward Bound and Atlantis, The Lost Empire, Fox has been entertaining us for decades. His big break, and the reason he was considered for BETF, came in the form of the sitcom Family Ties. Starring as Alex P. Keaton, the conservative son of ex-hippies Elise and Stephen Keaton, Fox brought laughter to everyone's TV screens for 7 seasons spanning 8 years. In addition to movies such as Doc Hollywood, where he first noticed a sign of Parkinson's, and The Frighteners, Fox also went back to television frequently. He was on Spin City for 4 seasons, had his own Michael J. Fox show, and was a recurring character on The Good Wife. Although he has since retired from acting, his career and legacy still lives on, and he has a new documentary out now called Still, a Michael J. Fox movie. So, friends, that's a wrap for today's video on American sitcoms. How did you like this video? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and share. And remember, if you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Until next time, goodbye.